From the top of the tree sprout long, hairy green tendrils, and a set of tentacles constantly and vigorously in motion, with a subtle, sinuous, silent throbbing against the air. The slender, delicate palpi with the fury of starved serpents quivered a moment overhead, then as if by instinct with demonic intelligence, fastened upon her in sudden coils round and round her neck and arms. Then while awful screams and yet more awful laughter rose wildly to be instantly strangled down again into a gurgling moan, the tendrils one after another, like great green serpents with brutal energy and infernal rapidity, rose, retracted themselves, and wrapped her about in fold after fold, ever tightening with cruel swiftness and savage tenacity of anacondas fastening upon their prey.
Yes, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme.
Good morning, my beauties and bees. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you out there in the hive. Hive is buzzing this morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. We got Captive Desk. We got James Nordhoff. We got John Hudson and Sandy and Spooky Bed Hair. We've got, I think that a Chris Mallard sighting. Yeah, the Daily Atheist Morning Show. Chris Mallard is back. Yes, hello. Who else do we got? Deep Arcs is here. Good morning, everybody. Trees is in the house. Hey. Good morning, all. Each and every one of you all. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much for being here. I have, before we get into CrypticCorner, I have some obvious house cleaning stuff to do. Wednesday morning, my grandpa passed away, so I've been kind of working with that and dealing with that and stuff here on the personal level. I'd hoped someone was going to come out and get me today because the funeral is this afternoon, but so far I haven't had anybody even reach out to me about it, so I don't know yet. I'm not stressing about it because right now my city's there was a water main that busted and it got contaminated, so we're on a boil order, but we don't have any water pressure anyway, so I can't take a shower, and I don't want to tell you all how hairy my legs are right now, but I am not going to a funeral with these hairy legs. So it's either gonna be that, and my agoraphobia is driving me crazy. I can't just thinking about going and seeing all those all those people that I grew up with. Because my grandpa, while I'm a little bit of a black sheep, my family's pretty prominent in their little town. They've been around a long time, and they own quite a bit of property, and my grandpa, he's quite a legendary figure. I guess he's like the town's Johnny Cash. I don't know. Mr. Night Train. He hasn't played in decades, but but yeah. So I get to be the black sheep of the family. So everybody is giving their condolences to everybody but me, because they forget about me, which is fine. Sometimes I hope those people in that little town forget about me forever. But I digress. Enough about that. I have to deal with that. I have to come find my emotional center and fix my brassiere because my bottoms of my titties was hanging out. Which I always thought, looked good on other people, but on me, it's very uncomfortable. So, and then that's another thing of how do I dress for this funeral occasion? I have a black dress, but maybe I don't know. I'm so nervous to show up there in a dress. I got pantyhose and I got a black dress. I think I'm set. If I can, after I finish the show here, I'm gonna, try to see about that shower and see if I get enough water pressure to at least shave my legs, if not everything else. But my makeup actually looks pretty good right now. I think I could. Let's see. I think I could probably be all right going to the funeral looking like this, but I had to use this I'm out of my good foundation, so I had to use this really white foundation and then pigmented it with some of this stuff because I didn't have what I needed this morning. It's all right. I didn't expect this to run out so quick. As expensive as this was, I didn't expect it to run out so quick. Like maybe 10 applications I got out of this bottle. So take for that what it is. Yeah, good morning. And sorry I'm ranting about my makeup and my funeral and stuff. I know we come here for a good time. We're going to have a good time, so don't worry about that. I just wanted to, give some kind of disclaimers about the way things were hanging in the Hive currently. So I did waffle about actually canceling the show today. That's the good thing about transpositions. I can say, you know what? I had a death in the family. I need to take a step back and deal with family stuff. And I got Steph and Ember there to pick up the reins and keep the show going when I'm gone. Life in the Hive, I don't have that. This is just me, sister. This is just me solo, flying solo and teaching you guys stuff. So thank you so much for returning week after week. I love y'all. Really appreciate it. As far as today's show, I think we're just gonna do some classic stuff. Just because I want to find my comfort. I want to be someplace comfortable and warm right now and hanging out with you guys. With that stuff a million miles away. So I have to deal with that sooner than later. So, yeah, we'll get to that. I found this really cool map I cannot wait to get to for you guys too. It's amazing. Amazing. I don't know how else to describe it. But we have to get through a lot of show before we get to that. And one thing we do have to get through is Cryptic Corner. So, today is Cryptic Corner. I'm going to warn you now. Hi, thank you, Star Song. Yeah, I'm feeling right now. Feeling right now. Black slacks and a blazer. I don't have black slacks and a blazer, though. I have black slacks, I just don't have a blazer. I got black slacks with a blouse. But I have the cutest black dress. That's the thing. I can't even wear it. God damn it. Anyway. My family's weird. Not that they'd be like, oh, you can't come in here dressed like that. It's not like that. It's like if I go, when I show up in a dress, all eyes on me. All eyes on me. All freaking 3,000 of them that's going to be there at that damn funeral. I'm sure I've exaggerated in my brain, but yeah. Anyway, enough ranting about that. Feeling my feelings, as you say, and I'm cool with that. I have to feel my feels. Yeah. Now my grandpa was my grandpa and his brothers were giants. He was the littlest of them. He was only 6'5". All his brothers were between 6'8" and 6'11". So he was the little guy. His dad was about 6'7" too. Well, when his dad passed away, he was only 6'4". But they were big people. So I come from a long line of Nephilim, and we'll get to that as well. But in the meantime, I'm going to, let's just go right into Cryptic Corner because I'm here for it. It's that time. It's time to dive into it. I'm going to warn arachnophobes right now that this is going to be a spider-heavy episode. Cryptic Corner generally runs about an hour. So if you're really want to make sure you avoid seeing the spiders today, I recommend coming back in an hour and 15 minutes, and we should be well past it. But don't miss what's after that, because we got Lost City of Atlantis, and I am here for it. All right, I will see you guys in Cryptic Corner. See you over there. Hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome to another installment of Cryptic Corner, where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I'm your host, Miss Bumblebee, and today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite things ever. I mean, you all see this behind me, right? You all know my deal. Spiders and bugs. My love, my passion. Spiders especially. I've got more spiders in this room right now. Well, I actually don't have as many spiders as I'm used to having right now because of all the turmoil of my last couple years with everything that's changed. So, but I'm going to get back there, don't you worry. Right now I just have the 3 spiders and then my roaches and beetles. It's not that I don't like spiders. The fact that I woke up a couple years ago with a big one crawling there, my chest hair. Oh. I got a short on my channel. It's actually my most successful video of me in my underwear with a spider crawling from my panties up to, or no, was it down? It might be down. It ends up between my boobies. It's from a long time ago, though. I got 10K views. Go figure, right? A lot of hate too. Don't get me wrong. I was early in my transition. I didn't have any makeup on or anything. I was just being silly. I was sitting there playing with my spiders and it was actually initially content for my OnlyFans that I stopped posting on over a year ago. So there's some older stuff on there, though. If you really want to, you can pay me and I'll show it to you. I don't know if I'll put anything new on there or not. Not anytime soon. Yeah. I do have a black beauty right here. This is my black beauty. She is a Grammostola pulchra. Brazilian velvety black tarantula. So gorgeous. But we're not visiting Brazil today. We're not talking about Brazilian spiders either, to be honest with you. We're all the way on the other side of the Atlantic where the spiders are a little bit more aggressive. I don't know if you all know this about tarantulas, but they're divided into 2 groups. Old world tarantulas and new world tarantulas. And there's some loose rules to follow regarding that, okay? So New World tarantulas, most tend to have urticating hairs, which means that they will drum on their ass if you piss them off instead of biting you. Because that releases this cloud of these little barbed hairs into the air that will irritate your eyes. Love poultry. Me too. Yeah. But the Brazilian wandering spiders are dangerous. Sort of. I mean, like a jaguar's dangerous, right? More dangerous than a dog's more dangerous than a Brazilian wandering spider. You're more likely to get bit by a dog. Brazilian wandering spiders don't come into contact with people very much. They live deep in the jungle and they're scared of us. Deep in the Amazonian rainforest, as the case may be. But that's also where the world's biggest spider lives, which is Theraphosa blondi. Closely followed by a lot of its little allies right there in the northern part of South America, right there around that Amazon basin. That's where probably the top 5 biggest, heaviest spiders live, right? You got the 3 species of Theraphosa. You got Nandu chromaticus, which get huge. You got this, what are the salmon pinks called? That's going to drive me crazy. Salmon pink tarantula is... Brazilian... Lasiodora parabana. I can't believe I forgot that. I had one for a long time. It's my love, and she passed away. Way before she was fully mature, too. I cooked her. I was a terrible, terrible spider mom. When we first moved into a new place, and she was in the basement. I thought the basement was too cold, so I put a heater blasting on her, and I cooked her, and I'm the worst mom ever. And she was only this big at the time, and she would have been this big by now, but I cooked her. So I'm sad. But I digress. I had a huge bird-eating tarantula. I've had a couple of bird-eating tarantulas at my days. And they get huge. They get bigger than anything in the old world, or at least anything that's been discovered yet. But there's legends. There are legends of spiders that get bigger than anything that you can imagine. Crawling on the jungle floor. But without further ado, let's get into it, because we're going to be talking about those alleged spiders of Africa. Of Africa this time. We did North America recently, right? And we covered Mojave giant spiders, a giant spider from Maine. We covered even a giant spider crossing a road in Canada. But as cool as the deserts and stuff of North America are, I just don't see them harboring too many unknown species of large arthropods, right? I just don't see that becoming something that is discovered in the future, right? But the Congo and the Amazon, on the other hand, are always yielding new life forms. And this is from the Congo Basin, the Fofi, or Fofi, however you prefer to pronounce it. I found this nice channel where they talk about cryptids, dinosaurs, comics. I mean, he's writing a comic about people getting lost in the Congo, right? That's his premise. But he did some research videos about the Fofi, and with some, I think it's fairly good information. Oh, hold on. Yeah. So let's dive right into it. So, I mean, he says that here, and he's talking about his artwork for his comic book, but funnel web or tarantula. But there's a third option that a lot of the, I think a lot of the folklore leans around, and that's like a giant, like web weaving tree spider in the trees, right? Like a giant orb weaver. So, and there are tarantulas that are larger than 15 centimeters that he just mentioned there. There's ones that'll approach 30 centimeters, right? Like the size of a dinner plate. No sound. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. That's all right. We're going to fix that right now. Thank you for catching that early for me. Why are you not playing any sound? Headphones. There you go. All right.
Now for the crazier part. Some accounts put these spiders at 1.5 meters leg span. That's a tarantula capable of taking down medium to large mammals like leopards, juvenile okapi, and...
Okay, well, to be clear, nothing's taking down leopards just because, right? Nothing's gonna be... oh, you know what I think makes good prey? A freaking leopard. There's no animal that says leopards are yummy prey. Now, eating the cats, of course. They're humans do hunt leopards, but they don't eat them. So, whatevs.
Humans. Now, the medium-sized tarantula reaches like 15 centimeters leg span, and it's capable of hunting down like small mice, small lizards, the occasional birds. But this cryptid takes it to the next level, making it one of the most interesting in our series. The best known alleged Fofi sighting occurred in 1938 in the interior.
Alright, so we got a good... This is why I picked this one. I like this guy's animation of that he does of the sighting from 1938. This is kind of the quintessential Fofi sighting by Westerners. Now listen to the description very closely.
Of the Belgian Congo, and was made by explorers Reginald and Marguerite Lloyd, a couple that was driving down the roads of the Belgian Congo at the time. Now it's the Democratic Republic of the Congo, so at the time it was pretty different. And this couple made one of the best known accounts of this cryptid, which is as following. Whilst they were driving down a jungle path, a figure crawled out onto the road ahead of their car, which Reginald Lloyd took to be a cat or a monkey, like a big cat or a big monkey, or even a small child. They really didn't understand at first what it was that crawled.
So, big cat and a small child are in completely different size categories in my opinion, but I digress.
Crawled into the road. He stopped the car to let the figure pass, and seeing that it was in fact an enormous spider, like a tarantula, big hairy spider, turned to get his camera, only for the spider to scuttle away into the undergrowth. The encounter was later passed on to Bill Gibbons by the Lloyd's daughter, Margaret. Now, this has to be...
So, spiders and the spider species, the tarantula species that are prominent in Africa, the most common ones are in a group that are often called the baboon tarantulas, right? They're called the baboon tarantulas because their legs look like baboon fingers. I didn't know if you all knew that or not, but that's where that comes from. And they, as I was talking about, the New World tarantulas have the urticating hairs that they want to kick up and spray at you to get you to leave them alone. That's their defensive method. They turn away from you and kick their own butt at you. Baboon tarantulas don't do that. They don't have those urticating hairs. So what they do instead, their ritual isn't quite as abstract. They don't turn around and drum on their... They just bite you. They just bite you. Yeah, that's what they do. They just bite you. So baboon tarantulas are probably the most aggressive group of tarantulas, in my personal opinion. Threat postures. I've had some baboons in my past, some baboon tarantulas, not baboon monkeys. But, yeah, threat displays. They strike. If you stick a paintbrush in there, they will strike at it. They don't mess around, and they are powerful animals.
One of the best descriptions of this cryptid, and I think it's a description that made me fall in love with this cryptid. It's so cinematic, it's so, I think, visceral. We can almost be there in the footsteps of these explorers and see the spider ourselves if we close our eyes. It's really amazing.
Explorers, they're people in a car going down the road, driving down the road with his wife. This is the same thing that happened with the Loch Ness Monster.
And it's one of the things that made me draw this series in the first place. These cryptids are said to be extremely venomous, but I don't think that makes a lot of sense. We, as authors, don't think the Fofi being extremely venomous makes a lot of sense because it's a almost 2-meter lifespan spider. It doesn't really...
Having a hematophagous venom wouldn't be a bad idea, though, for writing fiction, because, like a Komodo dragon, so this guy could bite, like, a deer or an antelope, and then just wait for the antelope to succumb to the blood poisoning.
Really needs to be extremely venomous to deliver a fatal bite, so we didn't really took that into account when conceptualizing or finalizing the cryptid itself. Now we had this giant defensive tarantula conceptualized. I say defensive because they're said to be extremely aggressive, but I find aggressive to be a mistake. Do not call them that, they're just animals, so it's best to say they're defensive. And we actually started off with a nest of babies.
I'm here for that. Defensive is fine. So, but they are, because the spider doing the butt paddling is just as defensive as the spider doing the threat display and striking at you, right? That's the thing there, is that maybe it's getting overlooked here. I don't know. But you can't just lump all tarantulas in the same group, and he's showing a lot of New World tarantula stuff. Yeah.
On the first volume, even though these babies are born the size of the biggest tarantula alive today, the Thyrephausa blondi. It's a South American gigantic tarantula. It reaches the size of a dinner plate. It has the common name bird eater. So
but they're not in Africa, and they're not baboons either, so let's keep that in mind.
You can picture this spider like crawling to the bird's nest and hitting the birds. I think that's how it was discovered. It's actually another crazy story because it was discovered by a scientist, a female scientist, if I'm not mistaken. And she said she saw a spider, a gigantic spider, hitting a bird. And she was ridicularized by the scientific committee. And they actually found some years later.
Now that's true, yeah. She was like, they're like, whatever, because she painted it. She's like, here's this, I saw this spider eating a bird. Now we got photos and stuff of them eating birds, so yeah, they do eat birds. The real bird spiders are the aviculera, though, and they're called that because they're kind of gliding tarantulas. They jump out of the treetops if they need to, and go. Whew, they glide like gliding frogs. They have big bushy legs. I actually have one right here. Oh, but I think it just ate, so she's probably chilling. Yeah. Anyway.
That account to be true, and the Thyrephausa blondi is the biggest terrestrial arachnid, I think, known today to be alive. There were bigger arachnids in the Carboniferous era, but that's a subject for another video. Back to it. So, throughout our series, various adults also make troublesome appearances. So they come in contact with some of our characters, some of our protagonists, human protagonists. But we wanted to really emphasize that no tarantula attacks unprovoked.
All right, and that is Elaciodora parabana, another New World species.
We have to bear in mind, these are animals. They're not out there to kill you. They're not out there to come crawling in your bed. Those are just myths. No one swallows 10 spiders per night. That's a National Geographic myth, and it's actually a really fun one because I think those few words...
You guys don't, I do. I swallow as many spiders a night as I can.
have created more arachnophobes than we can count. So, although this is a very scary looking cryptid, very defensive cryptid, it's still an animal.
No, they're not scary to me. I don't get it, honestly. I mean, I do because they have big fangs, but like so do bears and raccoons and possums, and they're all cute too and fuzzy, and I don't have that aversion to tarantula. And that's the thing too. A lot of people are like, oh, it's the big fuzzy ones that scare me. The big fuzzy ones are the cute ones. They're furry, they're fluffy, sometimes they have little patterns like pandas. Goodness gracious, they're adorable. And then they have little eyes. So cute.
Out there to follow our characters to their death. Whenever some encounter happens, is the human's fault. So, every time there's an attack, the humans messed with it first, which is blatantly realistic. As an owner of several species of tarantula, this was probably my favorite cryptid to conceptualize. If you want to know this cryptid and a bunch...
Do you have a baboon, though? Because you've shown a lot of spiders, but it seems like you have a lot of New World spiders. I think you have a green bottle blue. I saw a parabana.
Much more, you can head over to the links in the description. We have digital comics on Amazon, Google Play.
The comic looks cool, though. Don't get me wrong. The comic looks badass. There's all the Congo cryptids in it. Mokulimimbi, Kase Rex, all of them. So the comic looks cool. I just like wanted to...
Fofi.
Here we
A
go.
giant spider.
Check that out.
This is Fofi, a giant spider cryptid that is said to dwell deep within the Congolese forests.
Ha!
But is it real? This
No.
has to be one of the most asked questions throughout our social media, especially YouTube.
No, at least not the way that it's described here. We'll talk about it though. We're gonna get to it. Don't worry.
To answer this question, we must delve deeper into what we know about the biggest spiders that are actually known to science. And no, those are not the Australian huntsman spiders, nor New Zealand's cave spiders. That would be like comparing a giraffe to an elephant, being that the elephant, in this case, the Pterophosa genus, also known as the bird-eating tarantulas. Those are the real heavyweights of the arachnid world, at least today. Pterophosa blondi is the biggest tarantula to have ever been discovered, measuring up to 28 centimeters.
And that's kind of like up in the air too, because there's not a significant difference between how big blondi can get and how big Apophis Apophis can get. It's just the one that they measured that was that happened to be the heaviest was blondi. So, you know, grain of salt on which of the three species of Pterophosa are actually the biggest.
In lifespan, at most. Is it possible that there once lived a bigger species? We don't know. But so far, there is nothing that confirms it. Of course, in the Carboniferous period, there were giant arthropods of all sorts. So why not suppose that a very big prehistoric-looking spider lived among them? We had a little smell of that, with the mega arachnid.
The tarantulas didn't show up on the scene until well after the Carboniferous. They actually didn't show up until the Triassic. Spiders, like the evolution of spiders is really weird. And I covered it in depth with R and Raw. What's it been, about 8 months ago, I guess. We did a whole thing on it, just breaking down the evolution of spiders from their first divergence from other arthropods. And it happens that spiders, what we call a spider, happens a lot later than what you think. A lot of people are like, oh, you know, scorpions, you know, they crawl out of the ocean. Yeah, scorpions dead. Scorpions have been around for a long time, and scorpions have been absolutely massive. Scorpions, true scorpions that have, you know, reached the sizes and the Carboniferous of like a house cat. Like a house cat. And relatives of the scorpions that weren't quite true scorpions, Brontoscorpius, which was a giant aquatic scorpion, a marine scorpion, not a sea scorpion. It was actually an arachnid, not a but it wasn't a true scorpion because it had book gills instead of book lungs. But Brontoscorpius got about the size of a person. Now, he's going to start talking about Mega Arachne here.
A spider said to be the size of a small dog. Oh, it's actually not a spider. That got us back to square one on the giant prehistoric spider matter.
Yeah, because Mega Arachne was a sea scorpion, a Eurypterid, the group that we were just talking about there. And though they did have some terrestrial versions of like, what I would say like the crab clade is kind of what they filled. They didn't. They weren't spiders, and their behaviors were probably not very spider-like.
Fofi reports put it at 1.5 meters wingspan. Even the spiderlings are already born quite big, probably bigger than the biggest tarantulas alive today. That's even bigger than the biggest Central African tarantulas, also known as the baboon tarantulas. The king baboon, Pelinobius muticus, is probably the biggest in the continent, and it's also one of the few that produces a hissing sound.
That is not the right species for king baboon. King baboon is Histocra. Hold on. Oh yeah, I guess that okay. Pelinobius muticus. We're looking for not the king baboon, Hercules baboon. Okay. But we'll get to that in a minute.
By stridulating the chelicerae. And, as far as tarantulas go, it's one of the less friendly ones. The same goes for Hysterocrates gigas, native to the Cameroon. Although extremely common among tarantula keepers, it's also known as a reclusive and defensive species. But what if Fofi was actually a moderately big tarantula? Like a yet undiscovered, but plausible species? This is what it would probably look like. Although science does support an arachnid this size, it wouldn't look that different from what already exists. And
it could be, I could see a tarantula being discovered in the Congo that's actually bigger than Theraphosa, the Theraphosa. I could see that happening, right? Your wife won't eat crustaceans. I like crustaceans. They're nummy. I just had crustaceans for dinner last night. Oh, okay, Bryce. Thank you for dropping in. Foot-long tarantulas eat birds, frogs, snakes, mice, etc. 2 times that size. I think you're underestimating them. Me underestimating? Which species of spider? Yeah, I got videos of I think the biggest macro predatory tarantula feeding I think I've ever seen on camera, but it's not as big as maybe people might want to think. Carcinization is destiny.
Get that. Fofi is all about a truly gigantic spider species, not something that much plausible. Some explorer and native reports also mention portions of the rainforest totally covered in webs. Something like this may be plausible to some species of spiders that gather together
There's a green
and
bottle
weave
blue.
webs that cover entire trees. There are even tarantula species that web a lot. And guess
Green bottle blue! I love green bottle blues. I had one right before I moved here, actually. Poor thing didn't survive the move. It was about that size, too. It was a male,
But some of these are indeed found in Africa. But 1.5 meter wingspan tarantula weaving on top of entire trees, I just don't know about that. Heavy-bodied tarantulas tend to stay on the ground, burrowing or hunting, although some species like the Poecilotheria ornata are indeed among the biggest in the world and are also arboreal. And what would a tarantula of these proportions hunt for? To answer this, we have to, once again, look at the biggest tarantula species, and although their diet consists of mostly insects, they can and will hunt birds, rats, lizards and snakes, if given the chance. So, it makes...
a spider... These guys said a cat would mess with a 2-foot spider. 2-foot spider... Yeah, I think a cat would probably kick its ass. cats have like I think you're underestimating a cat though. Like not a normal, like a bunny that size would be wrecked, but a cats take on. Yeah, I mean, you gotta remember, cats take on rattlesnakes. Cats take on cobras. Cats take on they'll take on a coconut crab. Cats are fierce and powerful animals with like crazy reflexes. They can just their reaction time. I don't think the spider could handle. Not a spider that size. Now a spider that was much bigger than that might overpower a cat, but a 2-foot spider, it's really mostly legs. I think the cat would be scared of it though. And the cat, a wild cat that's used to hunting other like arboreal animals, maybe.
Sense that the Jabá Fofi would hunt animals of its size, and this includes cats, dogs, antelope, big snakes, leopards, juvenile okapi, and of course humans too. Also each other, as virtually all spiders are cannibalistic. Although there's a species of African tarantula, and a very beautiful one, that is known to thrive communally. It's not the only one, but it's the one that presents better results when kept together. Others
M. balfouri is gorgeous as well, and they can live in. I want a communal M. balfouri tank. That'd be so cool.
Species may try this, but usually ends up with a very big and very fat specimen preying on all the smaller ones, that stayed small due to the lack of nutrition in the first place. Yes, they can be bullies.
Yeah, don't keep
What
anything
about
else.
venom? After all, Jabá Fofi is said to be extremely venomous. A bite from it would immediately kill a human. Does this hold any truth? Well, tarantulas have venom. Most of them are really harmless though. The ones that aren't harmless are indeed situated in Africa, and also Asia. So yes, a medically significant bite would be probable. The question is, would they really need the venom? Well, it depends. Just take a look at yourself. Do you have claws, pointy teeth, armored skin, bear-like strength? No? Well, then a bite from the Jabá Fofi would probably kill you, even without the venom. 20 or 30 centimeter long fangs biting down in a vulnerable area would kill almost immediately, by blunt force alone. But yes, having venom could make the Jabá Fofi hunt in similar fashion to Komodo dragons. Biting a leg on a big animal and then wait out the effect.
Okay, there you
then
go.
Eat it when it already died. That is actually
Well, not when it's already died, like when it's weak enough that it can't fight back anymore, right? When it's been had a lot of blood loss, because that's the main thing about the Komodo dragon's venom, is it makes it so you don't stop bleeding. Yeah, I want to hunt some tarantulas
very
with
interesting
you.
theory for a giant spider.
No
Talking
fair.
about spiders and venom, yes, there are
Oh,
spider species
sweetie.
that pose a bigger threat to us than any tarantula. But ultimately, we pose a bigger threat to them 100% of the time.
We pose a bigger threat to all spiders 100% of the time.
This misconception is what supposedly caused Congolese tribesmen to hunt down the Jabá Fofi and apparently extinguish them. It's said the giant arachnid was once very common in the rainforests and swamps, but became endangered due to the natives burning their nests. That's an extremely plausible theory for any animal becoming extinct. Anyway, spiders are not the real pests. We are. They have lived for over 300 million years and became one of the most successful predators ever to have lived. And they will surely remain here long after we're gone. A world devoid of arachnids is a world totally inhospitable for us and other species alike. In conclusion,
True.
Jabá Fofi may be among the more plausible cryptids, and may even have existed until recently, but may also have been different from what we picture it to be. Only time, and humans stepping in places they shouldn't, will reveal this to us. Until then, don't forget to like, subscribe, and activate the bell icon to keep updated on the Jabá Fofi. And
So, he's really... Oh, hold on. Yeah, he's... No, not you yet. Alright, so he's really put a lot of work into this. So, yeah, if you like Congo cryptids, he's got this comic book called Congo, A Forgotten World. So go check that out. That's what all this was built up for, but it kind of laid the groundwork for what Fofi is. Let's look at some sightings now.
The dense jungle regions of our planet are home to countless mysteries. To this day, archaeologists are still finding ancient civilizations buried beneath the jungle canopy. It's not just buildings and ancient settlements that are being reported on though. For years, tales of unknown creatures have been shared by the locals, which eventually reach outsiders when they venture into these regions. One of the most mysterious and interesting is that of the giant Congo spider, also known as the Fofi. The Fofi, more commonly known as the giant spider of the Congo, is that of a large undiscovered species of spider that is reportedly the size of a man, and has survived from larger arachnid species found in ancient prehistoric times. Though large spiders have been reported all across the continent.
But there's no giant spiders from prehistoric times known from the fossil record, right?
It appears that within the Congo there are native tribes known as the Baka, but refer to the spider as the Fofi, and have a reported leg span of roughly 4 feet long. This was uncovered after a number of African reports began telling of a massive spider infesting different regions, and this was happening at different times of the year. One of the first reported sightings of such a creature occurred back.
That's the thing too, is Komodo dragons have that excellent olfactory sense, where they can stick that little forked tongue out and just track down wherever their prey is. Spiders really don't have anything like that. I mean, they do have olfactory sense to some extent on their underside. They can pick up pheromones and stuff, but they depend a lot on making sure that whatever they've envenomated can't run away. So they'll generally the idea is to snag its limbs in web.
Back in the 1890s, when a missionary from England ventured into the country of Uganda and discovered a massive web located near Lake Nyasa. He then writes that as they were looking at the web and getting closer to try and understand what it was given its massive size, as it was stretching between two larger standing trees, several of his men became trapped. As they began to move in the webs, sticking to the strings, they claimed spiders with legs longer than 4 feet began to come out and bite the men. Later expeditions in 1938 would lead researchers to consulting with local and native tribes in the Congo that told of the Fofi spider that was believed to have a matching leg span of 4 feet in length, had thousands of eggs described as being the size of peanuts, and would nest nearby villages in efforts to trap birds, large animals and even humans. A second encounter...
I find that would be more likely than eggs the size of a grown spider like the other guy was saying, though, because even if they have the potential to grow huge, they don't have to start off huge, right? They can start off larger than other spiders' eggs and start off larger than other spiderlings, but they don't need to be bigger than an adult.
By an archaeologist and his wife, and this was while they were travelling through the Congo. They were on a dirt path when they saw a large creature run across the road. They stopped in order to get a better look at it, initially thinking that the animal in question was a monkey due to how large it was, but after approaching it they soon realised that this creature was a giant spider. Due to these reports within the region, this caused some to suggest that the Congo and places around it are home to large prehistoric creatures. As more and more strange reports begin to surface coming from that of the Democratic Republic of Congo, it becomes apparent to many different researchers that the country seems to be an otherworld of impossible to explain sightings, and supernatural occurrences that have left many wondering if the country appears to be lost in time.
And
this is due to the...
Check this out. So, the Congo is huge. The Congo is basically a jungle. Like, look at the size of North America. The Congo is a jungle the size of North America, right? This is the Congo. And it used to be even bigger. It used to come all the way down here into Angola, all the way down to Zambia and stuff. But we've clear cut. And yeah, it used to go up more north too, all the way up into over here. But regardless, what we have here is a jungle or rainforest, or a mix of jungle and rainforest and a cloud forest that spans the length of the United States. It's absolutely massive. From the Uganda border to the Atlantic. And it is littered with giant, or speckled with giant lakes. And not a lot of development, because there's not it doesn't... By the time that you clear a way to, like, say, the diamonds and stuff that are in this region, you've lost your money that you're going to make off having the diamonds from this region. but other resources as well. I'm sure eventually it'll all be clear cut down, but that's the Congo. It's the second only to the Amazon in size and is absolutely massive.
The fact that the entire country seems to be filled with a number of strange creatures, and reports that fit that of ancient prehistoric time, with claims of dinosaur-like creatures still roaming the denser areas of the Congo jungle. Despite a number of strange claims, such stories and accounts from native tribes have been impossible to verify, as the dense jungles throughout the region have proven an impossible obstacle for researchers in the modern day. When early explorers were hiking through these regions, local tribe members would warn them about giant spiders that would prey on humans. They said to the explorers that if they came across giant webbing to leave the area immediately, as this was proof that the giant Congo spiders was nearby. One tribe described these spiders as being able to jump from tree to tree, and that even though they were bright in colour, they were hard to see in the backdrop of the jungle. They said that this species of spider also builds mounds, and that if they saw one to stay clear of it. The Congo Basin has an incredible ecosystem. The area is around 500 million acres, which makes it larger than the state of Alaska.
See, I would have been like, hey, can I see one? Will you take me to see one? I wanna see a giant tarantula that's 2 feet long, please, that are a meter long or whatever. I wanna see one. Thank you.
Those who have heard about the giant Congo spider have suggested that it could be a new species of arachnid. Most of the local stories describe the spider as digging shallow holes close to tree roots, and then camouflaging it with nearby leaves. Cryptozoologist William J. Gibbons was another person who had a run-in with this mysterious creature. The naturalist detailed that while on the hunt for another Congo cryptid known as the Mekele Bembe, his expedition team encountered locals, who told them about their experiences with giant spiders. Amazed at what he was hearing, he was excited to share their stories with others when he returned to Canada. He said the following: "On this third expedition to Africa, I took the opportunity to inquire if the pygmies knew of such a giant spider, and indeed they
See, and right there, that's an arania form. See how its jaws close like this? My gallimorph, their jaws go straight down. Dink. Arania form. My gallimorph. Arania. My gallimorph. So, that's this wouldn't be a tarantula.
They speak of the giant or the great spider. They describe a spider that's generally brown in colour, with a purple abdomen. They grow to quite an enormous size.
It's not pink, it's purple.
The giant arachnids weave together a layer made of leaves, similar in shape to a pygmy hunt, and spin a circular web, said to be very strong between two trees, with a strand across a game trail. These giant ground-dwelling spiders prey on the forest antelope, birds and other small game, and are said to be extremely dangerous, not to mention highly venomous. Although his team didn't see one of these spiders, he said that the local tribe members warned them about the area, and said that they should be on high alert. William believed that the locals were telling the truth about what they'd seen, and that when talking about the spiders they even seemed somewhat scared. Going back in the 1960s, an amateur explorer detailed his encounter with the locals that inhabited the dense regions of the Congo. He said that he'd hired a local guide to help him make his way around the terrain.
You're talking about when she's making the Wheelers mush? Yes, Umami, I remember. I want tarantulas to pull my chariot. I thought you had cats pulling your chariot.
One thing that interested him the most was how the locals would talk about the wildlife in the region. He said that they detailed seeing large flying reptile-like creatures, but one of the most fascinating was that of a giant spider.
That's actually kind of true, though, Native Atheist. They have 8 eyes, though. Some spiders have 6 eyes, like a 6-eyed sand spider and a brown recluse, but they're all related to each other. Most spiders and like all tarantulas, except for the ones with no eyes at all, that live in caves and stuff, have 8 eyes and poor eyesight. I don't think there's any tarantula that has good eyesight, because their eyes, all 8 of them, are just ocelli, which are like super developed photoreceptive cells, not really camera eyes per se. And they're on a little tiny cluster on the top of their head. But tarantulas don't depend on their eyesight to navigate. Generally, they depend on their whole world exists in a world of touch. They build like a whole carpet of web that they can feel vibrations through within a vicinity of their front door. And that's their whole world. They hardly ever leave that. Now, When it comes to male tarantulas, they will leave that to go mate, right? And then they do depend on their ocelli, but they only need to depend on their ocelli to see which way up is the sun is, and to be able to tell when predators are near. They can still feel vibrations, not quite as good because they're on open ground, but they can feel vibrations. They can see shadows, and yeah, they do have some olfactory senses as well. And one of the main thing they can feel is changes in air pressure, maybe better than we can. Well, you know, we have those fine hairs on your arms, though, that can pick up when someone, like a door opens in another room, and you can just kind of feel it on those hairs. They have that times 10. And they're magnetically receptive, too. You can take something metal and make the hairs bend towards it. Actually, I have a video of that on my channel, too, when my Nandu chromaticus died. I did some experiments with it.
Same with most of the reports. The locals describe these spiders as being over 3 feet in diameter, and claiming that the hatchlings of these spiders are bright yellow, with a purple abdomen. So what
They
is this
sound
thing?
pretty.
Although various people have come forward and said that such a colossal spider could never exist, they haven't totally ruled out the possibility that this creature exists. Every year, scientists and researchers are discovering new species, some of which were thought to be extinct.
But human-sized spiders are probably not among
The giant spider
those.
of the Congo may be a real species. It's just that the true size of it has been exaggerated. After all, in 2019 alone, scientists discovered over 71 new species of spiders. Other mysterious creatures that have been encountered within the region is that of the
All right.
Congo.
No, he's going to talk about Congo Mato. I think he goes back,
As well
though.
as larger flying species, it could very well be the case that the Congo Mato is a direct descendant of the pterosaur, and that they've somehow managed to survive in the rich fertile areas of the Congo. So what do you make of these mysterious encounters with the Jabbar Fofi spider? Do you think the creature is real, and that the creature's true size has been increased by word of mouth? Or do you think these are just stories?
Yeah, I think that there's possibility that there's a large species of spider that's larger than other species of tarantulas. As a matter of fact, I think there's proof that they exist. I actually think that they're... Oh, this is not proof, though. This is just a big spider. But... I think there was proof that there was a species of tarantula that lived in the Congo that was bigger than any species of tarantula we know from the Congo today. Within our lifetime, I think Pocock found it. In this fun video, the Natural History Museum shows you how this question is answered and also gives you a behind-the-scenes peek at their arachnid collection. What is the world's heaviest spider? The mere suggestion of two words, heaviest and spider, standing next to each other in a sentence is enough to strike terror in the mind and hearts of arachnophobes everywhere. After recovering from the initial terror, this raises the questions. How would you even figure that out? Do you place giant angry spiders with huge fangs on a scale and hope they'll sit still long enough to get an accurate mass before they chase you out of the room? This was the question of the Natural History Museum bug expert George Bacaloni was asked to solve when he was contacted by the Guinness Book of World Records editor-in-chief Craig Glenday. Craig was following up reports of possible rivals to the currently recognized heaviest spider in the world, the female Goliath bird-eating spider, Theraphosa blondi, from South America. Craig contacted George, the author of the book, Biggest Bugs Life Size, and asked if he could check the size of the Hercules baboon spider, Histocrates Hercules from Africa, since the Natural History Museum has the world's only known specimen. One specimen. The fun video shows you how the question was answered and gives you a behind-the-scenes peek at the arachnid collection at the museum. So we're going to watch that real quick here. I don't know about that music, though.
This jar contains a fairly large female of the Goliath bird-eating spider from eastern South America. The fangs must be probably the biggest fangs of any spider. The Venezuelan Indians who sometimes eat these spiders are known to use the fangs as toothpicks. This is from Nigeria. It was collected about 100 years ago, and there's only one specimen known. The fangs are out and the legs are up, and that's because it was probably highly annoyed when it was collected and drowned in alcohol. Here are the giant spider specimens that we're going to measure today. This one here is my wife's ex-pet called Tracy. When she died, Jan pickled her and added her to the collections here.
The baboon spider might be the biggest. There's reports online. We need to check for sure, I guess, and this has been the only specimen.
Reports online. But you gotta remember this was 13 years ago too, so.
In the best place to actually test it, so.
No.
What we're going to do is measure the volume of the two specimens using Archimedes' principle. So by immersing an object in liquid, it displaces liquid equivalent to its volume. We might as well go for the Hercules baboon spider first. When I put the spider in, it will pour out into this box. And we'll pour the alcohol into the measuring cylinder. The volume of that specimen is 22 milliliters. Now, the female Goliath bird-eating spider.
Love you, Amber.
And what would the lifespan be?
The females can actually live up to 20 years. The males live only about 5 or 6 years, and once they've mated, they die. And there we have it. 69 cubic centimeters versus 22 cubic centimeters.
So 3 times as heavy.
There's me doubt which is the biggest of the two species.
There's no new Guinness World Records today.
Yeah, unfortunately not.
Yeah, so. Alright. Got a couple more things I wanted to look at here. First, we're going to look at this, and I'm going to have you all going to see me have a meltdown. Y'all want to see me have a meltdown? Because this is going to trigger me. I'm pretty good here. For the most part. Brown recluse actually get bigger than that, but I'm not going to make a fuss about it. Garden spiders get bigger than that too. Oh, a zebra spider. That's the little tiny jumping spiders, but a black widow, okay. I'm okay with that. A wolf spider, 1.5. Funnel web, 1.8, okay. I'm gonna turn this down just a little bit. Golden silk orb weaver, 4.9. Brazilian wandering spider, 5.9. No, that's a solar fusion that it's poorly rendered, but 6 inches and not a spider. All right, well, let's stop here for a second because we got some awful big claims here. I mean, they're not, the numbers are fine, but the scale, how small is this person supposed to be? How small can this person be that this is, and you got to remember these lengths, when you measure a spider, you're measuring from here, from here, let me blow it up, from here to here. That's the length. So that's supposed to be 7 inches. I don't know anybody whose chest is like 10 inches across, unless they're like a child, a small child. But even the 7.9 There's just no way. That's too... Those are too big. Too big. Those are what is shown here. Yeah. Gracious. No, exaggerated. Okay. More exaggeration. 10 inches. I mean, again, the sizes they're saying that are listed aren't bad, but the visual representation... Are you telling me that that it's 10 inches from... Oh my goodness. Look at this one. Look at this monster that they have on here. There's our Lasiodora parabana. And then they're going to say a Goliath bird-eating spider is going to take up somebody's whole back. Come on now. Don't be silly. And the giant huntsman as big as someone's torso and chest and stuff. No, that's just not real. Please, please. No, these are ridiculous. Absolutely redonkulous. What else did we have? I thought I had... That's the one I just watched. That one. Alright, yeah, I think we're good to go. Okay, so... That's Jabba Fofi and the African giant spider folklore. So, what do you guys think? Did giant spiders once roam the darkest heart of Africa, the deepest jungles of the Congo? Did giant spiders once rule those lands and terrify our primitive ancestors for millions of years and make us develop a fear of spiders that's sometimes seems a little overblown, but you got to protect yourself. And this, I think baboon spiders are a perfect example of that. I think baboon spiders have evolved to counteract primate predators, and it shows. All right. Listen, I'm in Florida, and I don't need to go to the Congo to see 2-foot spiders. All right. So, yeah, that's been Giant Spiders of Africa on Cryptic Corner. Thank you for sticking around with me. This will be a follow-up to the giant spiders in North America. Please remember to be kind. Take care, and we'll see you next time. All right, live from the Hive, peeps. Don't go anywhere. I did get a message from my brother, so I don't know if he's going to come get me or not, so we'll see. But I need to continue on with the show because, yeah, I've got to get this through and wrapped up. I will see you guys in just a minute, and we're going to get pretty weird with it. So hang in there, okay?
Es ist dem Feind gelungen, die Front in breiter Formation zu durchbrechen. Im Süden hat der Gegner Zossen genommen und stößt auf Stahnsdorf vor. Der Feind operiert jetzt am nördlichen Stadtrand zwischen Frohnau und Pankow. Und im Osten ist der Feind bis zur Linie Lichtenberg-Marsdorf-Karlshorst gelangt.
Mit dem Angriff Steiners wird das alles in Ordnung kommen.
Mein Führer, Steiner konnte nicht genügend Kräfte für einen Angriff massieren. Der Angriff Steiner ist nicht erfolgt.
Es bleiben im Raum. Meine Befehle sind in den Wind gesprochen. Es ist unmöglich, unter diesen Umständen zu führen. ist aus. Der Krieg ist verloren. Aber wenn Sie, meine Herren, glauben, dass ich deswegen Berlin verlasse, irren Sie sich gewaltig. Eher jag ich mir eine Kugel durch den Kopf. Tun Sie, was Sie wollen.
All right, hello, my beauties and bees. Welcome, welcome to another episode where we're gonna get pretty weird with it. And I didn't know what to call this segment. I've toyed with a lot of ideas, but it's really because it's so inconsistently all over the place. It's hard to come up with a title, but every one of these freaking people I cover is weird, so we're just going to call it Getting Weird with It, and that's what I've been putting out. Now, what are we covering on Getting Weird with It? Everything. We cover claims about flat Earth, young Earth, demons, angels, freaking lost civilizations, all this wild stuff. These theories these people are so sure about that they have the audacity to put them out on the internet for us to debunk. And today we're doing one of my favorites ever, a childhood nostalgic memory of mine, and we're gonna awaken those childhood memories with ancient amnesia. Now, recently, you can see ancient amnesia has turned into a bit of a rock hound, but a lot of short videos out there chasing rocks. But earlier on, up until actually about a year ago, they were making short video essays about ancient civilizations and Anunnaki and Stonehenge's African origins and giants, talking about the secret of the Sphinx and ancient Mars, aquatic ape and a myth of mermaids, secrets of Sakar. But I found a video. I found a couple of videos. I found this one too. I don't know if we're going to be able to get into that or not, but we are definitely going to get into this video on Atlantis, though. So, to have a long intro on this.
Plato, so on. Gathered together.
Okay. Here we go. So let's go to Atlantis, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go. All right. 400 BC. Plato, so on. Gathered together, having a beer. So on tells Plato an amazing story. Atlantis. This place you can only imagine. going to tell you all about this in here, and you're going to have to write it down, and you're going to pass it on for thousands of years to come. And so here we are. We're going to talk about Atlantis tonight. Josh, admin and creator of Ancient Amnesia. I'm Dave. And just going to chat about Atlantis a little bit, bring up some things we know and things we hope to know in the future. So my view is it was basically a seafaring society, interconnected all around the world, similar symbology, similar cultures, probably a lot of similarities. Peru and Egypt probably being, the two of the most obvious places where the seat of power would be. But a lot of people say
all around the world, huh? Like, what's the evidence of that? Are we gonna? Well, I guess we're just a minute and a half in, but I mean that's a bold claim. Peru and Egypt. When I think of interconnected civilizations, Peru and Egypt, across the vastness of the Pacific and the Indian Ocean. Not just the biggest ocean. We have... Do I still have the map up? Just perspective. Just some perspective here. Let's go. All right, so Peru, it's Lima, right there. So from Lima to Egypt, how far around the globe do we have to go? Okay, so here's the entire longest portion, literally, of the Pacific. The longest you can travel east to west on the Pacific will get you into... It'll get you tangled up in the Sandaban. Now, this will be similar to when we talked about African tribes crossing from the heart of Africa, or like around Cameroon and stuff, to Mexico. Right? It's the same kind of situation, because we have to try to get through these island chains without running into any islands or leaving any evidence of our civilization there, to get to Egypt. So we're literally coming all the way down here. Now that we've crossed the biggest ocean, the widest ocean in the world, at its widest possible journey, let's cross this other ocean. But instead of just crossing this ocean, we are going to cross the ocean and then navigate up the Gulf of Aden into the Red Sea into Egypt. Because that makes sense. That makes sense, y'all. You can literally see Egypt and Peru on the map looking this way. There's less distance this way. Look, there's Peru, there's Egypt. Less distance this way than there is this way in spades. Samoa is as far away. And you hit Samoa, you're not even out of the freaking South Pacific. Yeah, you're only about halfway through. Yeah, that's an ancient trade route. That makes sense.
it's out in the ocean up past the Straits of Gibraltar there. So I kind of like to think that it was something that covered the entire planet. That's my opinion. And Josh, what do you think, man?
Yeah, welcome to our Atlantis podcast, guys. I think this is a good start for us because there's so much to that entire idea. You know, I mean, Atlantis ties in so many things. It ties in the Ice Age, the fact that where the people living, before our known history, where there are people living 15,000 years ago. Where does language come from? Where do these myths come from? Where's the idea of God come from? It ties in so many aspects, I think, of what people are interested in this field. And one thing I think is fascinating about Atlantis is I think people want it to be true, and it's exciting. It's exciting because there's so many possibilities, and so when we talk about it, one of the things is I like to start from scratch. Like, what is possible? What do we know that is true? And
I just want to clarify. Okay, so beyond the Straits of Gibraltar, you have Morocco in this civilization, and that's not like a new civilization, because this is what I'm so excited to show you guys. Look at this map I found. Isn't this the coolest thing? You can see the Caspian culture extended beyond the Straits of Gibraltar. I have trouble with that word, so forgive me. Before Yeah, 3000 BC. And if we move just a little bit forward, you can see that there are unique cultures and stuff out here as well, in the islands and the Azores and the Canaries that people could be referring to. Also, beyond the Straits of Gibraltar is the Villanova de Sao Pedro culture. So that's happening, right? So, in ancient times, a lot happening. A lot happening west of these arms. Let's look here. Got that Caspian culture.
And what does that mean for the potential of something like Atlantis? So I think, well, okay, the Earth is billions of years old, and we know that there's been, a potential of life for millions and millions of years. So, maybe there was other cycles of evolution that brought creatures that were advanced, and they rose and fell over all this expansive time. They're lost, and who knows how far back that goes. I mean, I think that's
creatures.
Bone and material can only last so long, and then it gets turned to dust. Or it's under the ocean. Our planet's 70% water, so we don't know what's down there, and the ocean just destroys it once it gets down there for thousands of years.
Okay, so there are some continental plates that are sunken down that are going to have tons of cool fossils and even human civilizations that were pulled underwater. Doggerland's a great example, but that doesn't mean that that there were ancient civilizations in the Mesozoic or the Paleozoic era, or even before the Pleistocene. The roots of civilization, I'll give you back into the Pleistocene, right? Most of civilization takes place in the Holocene because that's the defining characteristic of the Holocene.
So it's something at least that is possible under the scale of Earth's timeline. In terms of anthropology, we know that modern human is hundreds of thousands of years old. So what that means is that they were as smart as you 200,000 years ago. Okay, they had the same capability, they had the same laptop, right? Like they're all running MacBook Pro, they're all running the same power. So what they did with that power, with how they used that power, we don't know. Like we think that we have this timeline, but
you got to remember they didn't have the same resources available. Infrastructure builds on top of infrastructure. Innovation builds on innovation. It's so if you go back to the beginning of the human species 200,000 years ago, they have the software, right? Or sorry, they have the hardware but they don't have the software available for architecture or for metallurgy, things like that, or for chemistry. They don't have the software available for that because that software is being developed by the species over generations, and different pockets of populations are developing different software to contribute to the greater population of humanity.
You look at also the weather patterns, and we know that there was all kinds of tumultuous things happening. We've had a show on cataclysms. These things wipe out civilizations, and biology kind of destroys itself in ways that it evolves and dominates and takes over, and then breeds in and breeds out, and we see this happening in the biological record. So this is where my brain goes. I kind of try to at least put it at a science.
So when you say civilizations destroyed by natural, are we talking like the Minoans of Crete, or talking about Pompeii maybe? What civilizations were destroyed by weather, I guess, is my question. Because, I mean, you could loosely say that volcanic activity, volcanism, is weather, at least has an impact on the weather. But I can't... Doggerland, but I don't know if Doggerland could be considered like an empire, though. Not like Atlantis. And maybe there were, like... villages, I guess, of ancient people. Doggerland didn't sink in a day either.
Perspective, like, you know, what do we know is true, what's happening with biology, anthropology, geology, you know, how does all this stuff, you know, at least put a frame to the possibility of this being real. And so, you know, that's what I think Atlantis, people kind of look at it at this, oh, that's just not possible because it was only 15,000, you know, that's 15,000 years ago, and that's nothing compared to modern humans, which have existed for 250,000 years, so, or longer.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's really not really a far stretch. I think people need to kind of understand that 15,000 years ago in terms of anthropological time, modern human time is not a very long time. So, you know, I think that's where we need to start, you know, Dave. Like,
one foot of sea level rise, you know. And
yeah, it's all it takes, you know.
Yeah, so, you know, you basically just, you know, raise your house up a little bit. You have 1,000 years to do it. So yeah, that's how it is. It's such a minuscule time space, you know, and compared to the overall time that humans or human-like creatures could have existed here, you know, with the atmospheric conditions and environmental conditions. So yeah.
If you say humans are human-like creatures, I'm here for it. Tell me what the creatures are, please.
That you know, that's the case. And there is the possibility you could never find evidence, no matter how hard you look. Like you said,
were the
you know,
Atlanteans creatures?
You know, could have been an acidic sea that just dissolved everything, you know, and just turned everything into you know, minerals. So yeah, you have no idea really. You know, I would think that Atlantis was probably the last of the great societies that were more connected to nature. I would say that our society is sort of superficial compared to what I would imagine Atlantis to be. I think they would have been, you know, they would probably have had wars and conflicts with, you know, people that didn't want to adhere to their ways, you know, because they were pretty much, you know, the captains of the sea. You know, nobody would turn them down. You know, they would just overpower them. So, you know, I would say they were very compassionate probably and able to, you know, solve problems with a little bit more respect for each other and for nature. And you know, that's just what I would imagine it would be like, but it might have been totally different than that.
Sure, sure, it's a mix. You know, I mean,
right.
Another thing I think people that are trying to always search for.
Yeah, I think that. Sumami, I think that our ability to control waterways is what changed the... So a lot of people will be like, oh, agriculture, right? As soon as we started farming plants. But our ability to control waterways, I feel like it precedes our ability to grow plants. I think that led to our ability to cultivate farms and to water our crops and controlling waterways would have been a big step to overcoming nature, like floods and like seasonal floods and stuff, which I think that there was a lot of in the Indus Valley and in the Tigris and Euphrates and obviously the Nile. And to a lesser degree, maybe some of the smaller European rivers. But talking about early civilization, yeah, in that region, the ability to control where the water went, the echoes of us learning how to do that are there today. There's what used to be like forests and jungles and plains and stuff that's all desert and wasteland now because early humans redirected the water away from that. That's why, like, if you look just in recent history, just within the last 2,000 to 3,000 years, in the cradle of humankind, you'll find species like they couldn't live in that environment now, like elephants and tigers and lions and cheetahs and ostriches and leopards and just a myriad of animals that were thriving in that. It was literally, ironically enough, like a Noah's Ark, because the fauna of Europe and Asia and Africa all met right there. So you have lions and tigers in the same region together. But we redirected all the waterways and plowed all the fields and we learned how to agriculture there, but we also learned how not to agriculture there, and the echoes of that are still present today.
What you need to realize is that, you know, America is also Hawaii, and America, you know, is also Puerto Rico, right? Or Alaska is also, you know, Alaska, and so Atlantis it's a dispersion, it's an empire, right? So, you know, it's all dispersed, and so if we can understand that there was this empire that was all over, and if you look today, you know, like there's modern societies and there's still tribes in the rainforest, you know, so it's not like 15,000 or 20,000 years ago you couldn't have kind of both situations going that exist today. You know, we know that down in the jungles that there's tribes that are still living like they did thousands of years ago, and up until recently in America there was tribes living like they did in the Ice Age and thousands of years ago. So this idea of having advanced societies living with primitive societies, it's just true even today. So you have this potential of this, you know, population that is advanced. Where they came from, that's another bigger question that obviously can't be answered. But if they did exist, it would explain a lot of things that we see today in all our mythologies. We see in language, you know, etymology, and all these other fields that are just kind of unexplainable. You know, why are the pyramids all over the planet? Why are they scaled the same? Why is language, you know, have these kind of key words that even go transatlantic? You know, in the you know, the word Atlantis actually doesn't have a European origin. The first origin that they found was actually in the Maya, where they had a place called Atzland. Atzland, yeah. Atzland, actually in the Mayan. And this is a place that was in the east, in the ocean to the east, which is where, you know, it's supposed to be, the Atlantic Ocean. And they would send all of
Okay, but Plato is created Atlanta or Atlantis. You putting Atlant and correlating it because it sounds like Atlantis does not make it the same. You could say like, oh, Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, that's the modern Atlantis right now. It never even sank. It's right there. Sounds just like it.
Over to this place to get basically approval for things that they were doing. And this is in Mayan text.
What about Atlantic City, New Jersey? I mean,
a lot of information coming from the Maya about Atlantis, which is interesting because this is a civilization that lived contemporary with Plato and before Plato.
Right.
And so
fairly late as well.
And fairly late as well. I mean, there's still Mayans living in Mexico.
Yeah, they still are. Yeah.
And then there's new research where there's literally dozens of temples that LiDAR just found, and so there's tons of stuff to be just even discovered, and more text will come out. But you have these correlations, and so it would explain there being this kind of central population that exists, this central civilization that existed sometime, and kind of taught people just like we do today. We go to these, we send missionaries.
Okay, so those LiDAR cities are Mesoamerican cities. They're not Atlanta, or I keep saying Atlanta. They're not Atlantis cities. They're not lost civilization of ancient white people.
We help other groups kind of advance and teach them modern agricultural. We teach them technological building skills, and they kind of get up to speed. The first world teaches the second and the third world, and they finally rise. We're seeing this in India and China now. They're westernizing and they're becoming smarter, and they're using our techniques and stuff. So we're witnessing all of these things. So the theory of there being a civilization back in the past.
India and China becoming smarter using our techniques. Oh my gosh. Okay, so until maybe the last 150 years or so, India has been the richest country in the world since as long back as we can remember. The richest. India was the place of riches. And China was a place of innovation. They had everything from paper to pasta, gunpowder, all that stuff that was innovated well before European cultures were gifted it from these Eastern societies. Don't give me this mighty whitey bullshit. Asia from China to the Arabic world. Oh my gosh, the math and formulas and innovations that come from the Arabic world. Anyway.
Past, having done that, like it's already happening, of course, I don't see that being a wild idea anyway. And then the research that's coming out of the whole cataclysm and Randall Carlson's research and the stuff that's coming out of the Ice Age impacts, the Under Dryas events, it gives you basically a scientific...
So Europe is basically like Edison, right? They take all the credit for all the inventions. So they take the inventions and then they innovate. They do innovate, there's some innovation, but then they subjugate the people who gifted them these inventions, take credit for them, and then when those people start to try to use those inventions, they say they're appropriating their culture. Isn't that wild? Like even writing on paper is not European.
Pinpoint for there being the cataclysm that could have ended a civilization like Atlantis, and that's exactly what all the texts are saying. They're saying,
well, that's how they said Atlantis went down. Basically in a night.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of evidence. I think people should look at the evidence scientifically and realize, hey, it gets you more excited because if you want answers, they're all there. There's great, awesome answers in every field of science that will back up all the story and fill it in.
There's religion as well. There's a lot of stories.
Yeah.
A lot of stories about floods. In certain religions.
Here we go.
So yeah, that's the way I see it. Is for me, Atlantis would be pretty much they would have had to been wiped out because we don't have any evidence of really technological things, except for megaliths and some structures that are pretty amazing. But like you said,
are those evidence of technological things though, my dude? Are they just, hey, I don't think brown people could have done this stuff with primitive tools, so I'm going to decide it was ancient, super smart white people.
There's no laptops, there's no wheels from cars or engine parts or stuff like that that are being dug up. So if they had technology like that, it's buried. It would have been so cataclysmic to just bury it under everything, to never be found. And so if we think back and say, well, there were 10 civilizations like that, you got to figure 10 civilizations like that over however long buried under there. I mean, how deep does it go? At some point you hit the magma. Well, so everything must be just pulverized. Just either turn to dust or just
people say,
drowned under glaciers.
People are like saying, well, there's no evidence. Yeah, there is. Look at forbidden archaeology. There's drill bits. There's
right. Yeah.
It's also there. It's actually more than you would think there is. There's anomalies. There's
a lot of ooparts.
Oh, oopas. We're going to talk about oopas. That's out of place artifacts. which are like most of the time. It's usually stuff that that got covered with like calcium deposits and stuff like that.
All kinds of artifacts that are there for you to look at too. So again, there's always an answer to your question. Like, well, where's this? Well, here it is. Well, what about this? Well, here it is. Manly P. Hall, which we have to do a show on Manly P. Hall because
he's the best.
He's a monolith educator. I mean, guy. I mean, he's called the Master of the Mysteries, and he grew up in such an amazing time where there were so many amazing people. But he traveled the world and wrote about everything he saw. And there's a story that he was talking about in his Atlantis lecture that he was talking to an Indian chief. This is probably in the 1920s, and he was showing him a ancient Chaldean text that had some writing in it. And the Indian chief stopped him as he was flipping through it, showed it to him, and he said, "Wait, right there." And it was actually the text that had to do with the Hermes Trismegistus. Right. And the Indian said,
here we got some Latter-day Saint stuff going on now. Native Americans or the lost tribes of Israel. The lost tribes, of course.
My ancestors could read that. I recognize that writing, which is interesting. So it's really interesting stories that come out of some of these researchers and some of these educators back in the day that you don't really know about. But you do have this kind of collective idea of a flood. The Native Americans talked about it. The Mayans talked about it. They talked about a guy called Quetzalcoatl who came over. He was white. He was bearded. He was in a ship. He taught them agriculture. He taught them government. He taught them everything. And he said, "One day I will return." And he never did.
There you go. That mighty whitey, big white bearded guy coming over to teach the primitives how to be modern. This is such a douchey theory.
Which explains the story of why, that Montezuma, when Cortez landed on the coast, he believed that this was Quetzalcoatl because he's returning from and that's what actually got him in and basically, got him to kind of get his stuff together to destroy the empire, take it over. But this stuff rings true. And we also look at gods. The Olympian gods, the Egyptian gods, that Thoth, right, who was the builder and the writer, and he taught the Egyptians language and building techniques. It's the same guy, right? So Quetzalcoatl was Thoth, and then you have the Olympian gods, which were talked by the Greeks as being humans and ancient kings, right? The kings of Atlantis. So it all really is fascinating when you look at it that light.
That's what it really comes down to, is that it's like Europeans not being able to cope with the idea that civilizations fall or that empires fall, and that the huddled masses that they find allegedly in the wake of ancient civilizations living in the region couldn't possibly be the descendants of the people who built these great cities. Even though that's what happened, like to Rome, and we know that, right? We know that all the warring feudal castles still stand, even though the feudal lords are long gone. We know that the people who live in Northern Europe are descendants from the people who built the castles, right? But they don't build castles now. They live in wooden houses and they farm and stuff. What's up with that?
And you realize that these myths may be talking about the actual people that came over. You gotta imagine if Atlantis was a colony like America, like if Atlantis had this dispersion and there were Atlantean soldiers and philosophers and teachers and farm builders, agricultural guys, and they were living in these other areas. And Atlantis, then some cataclysm came in and hit. You would then have to realize that these people were stranded in these other societies, right? And so these other societies would have to then be on their own, and the people that were left would have to kind of like teach them how to kind of pick things back up. And that's
you have similarities, and then you have new stuff, new things.
That's right, and that's what we see when we look at the earliest Egyptians and we look at the earliest Sumerians. We see just out of nowhere these guys were able to create and build, and they knew math and they knew how to write.
No, we have so many freaking dude. We have so many failed tombs and pyramids and stuff from people practicing building these. There's pyramids that were poorly measured, that the architect that working on them didn't measure them right. There's there's obviously the lost ones in the jungles and stuff. But yeah, we have just in Egypt alone, we have the evolution of the architecture that they use. We have that from very primitive Basel to the kind of the peak Old Kingdom stuff.
And it just fits the story perfectly that there was something that happened to high civilization that was dispersed around the globe, and they came in and they ended up just kind of having pieces again and teach them what they lost. And so it's just amazing to think about this stuff. I want people to understand that there's a lot of evidence to this stuff. And
there is, there's a lot of evidence. Basically when you have this much evidence, you can't pinpoint what it was, but you definitely know something was there. And then you look at as far as Atlantis, I think of the rings. And is it a metaphor or is it literal? There's a lot of both. But the rings could be, latitudes, longitudes. There could be a lot of metaphors mixed in there for, how Atlantis wielded its power. Each ring that it had, the concentric rings weren't, actually walls or, a city. They were rings of power, where, there would be different levels of government, different levels of,
Rings of power, like in the Tolkien verse.
people that would rule over and lord over everyone. And that's kind of how I see the rings. Kind of like a metaphor. And then you have to look at it like the Phoenicians. Who do we have later on down the road? When it all came about, suddenly the Phoenicians and the Sea Peoples. Just they had all the same aspects of what we would expect from Atlantis and from what Manly Hall tells us, that they were a seafaring society that covered the whole world. Ships in common. Right. So, but you got to figure back then the ships were made out of wood. They were made out of organic materials. Cotton and wood and whatever else they would use to build them. So that's why we really don't have any. From that far back.
But that we do have Phoenician, at least parts of Phoenician boats, right? Pretty sure we have pieces of Phoenician ships. And I don't think we have a full Phoenician ship. We know how they were built, though. Sort of. I don't want to take away all that we know all the mysteries of the Sea People or anything like that, but I do want to hazard a guess to say they didn't come from Atlantis, especially since they first appeared deep, deep, deep in the crotch of the Mediterranean, way on the opposite end of the arms of Gibraltar. And it's likely that, again, let's have a look here. Oh, not that map. This one. Yeah. It's more than likely that one of these many cultures spawned the Sea People, right? Look at these many, many cultures in the Eastern Mediterranean. The Lycians, the Pisidians, the Grotto-Pelosi culture, the Cycladian culture, early Hellenic people, even all the way up, you get like the Cadofini culture. Any of these would be more likely to be, or again, our classic Caspian culture, the Los Milleras culture even, is more likely than somebody coming from beyond the Straits of Gibraltar. Old Copper Complex, is that what that was? Were the Atlanteans from the Old Copper Complex? Come on now. We just found a Cainite ship at the bottom of the Mediterranean. Yep, the Cainites, we have them right here. Canaanites, I should say. There's a few little empires bouncing around in cities and stuff at this time. Early on. So it's so bizarre to claim. And this is the map thing I was talking about. Oh my gosh, I'm in love with this. Look at this. You can jump forward in time to when there's... look how complex it gets. Look at that. Isn't that freaking amazing? You can go back in time. You can jump way ahead, like to modern time. Pretty wild. Amazing stuff. But yeah, there should have been. You got Zapotex and stuff. I'm getting distracted because I like Mesoamerica. But yeah, this is a pretty cool tool that I found. But even, I mean, watch how fast this stuff grows. You can jump forward 10 years. And you see, maybe 100 years at a time is probably better. You see the changes and growth of all these different... No, there's the Minoans. The Minoans show up, yeah.
We find Viking ships that are 700 or 800 years old, or 1,300 years old or whatever, and and they're somewhat intact. But imagine 12,000 years. Yeah, it's just going to be buried in the muck under 100 foot of sediment. You're rarely going to find anything. And that's what I think it is. They used a lot of organic materials to build what they had. And when you use organic material, it decays. It just falls apart and transmutes back into elements that it was when it was created. So I think that's where Atlantis is lost. There's a lot of it that's been lost. I don't think they were transistorized electronics and jet engines and stuff like that. I think they dealt with everything in a different way. I think they had a real subtle, natural way of doing what they did.
Manly Hall says that they had a extrasensory perception.
Right. Yeah.
Much like young children, right? So young children can pick up on things. They
weren't messed up by society yet.
Yeah, their ego hasn't formed and tightened.
Kids have extrasensory perception. I don't know where mine was. I was totally lost when I was a kid. I didn't get my psychic. Did you all have psychic powers as a kid? Let me do a poll. What they call extrasensory powers as a child. There we go. All right. So I've just running a poll. So you guys can let me know if you had extrasensory powers.
And so they're just open, right? They're really feeling it out. And so I think that's what he was saying that they had. That they were able to come in and just have that kind of open sense perception, which isn't. It's not talking about levitating rocks to their minds or shooting magic bolts out of their fingers or anything. We're talking about something that we all have in us, that we all actually sometimes get in those states ourselves. We're in open states and maybe thinking about a friend and all of a sudden our phone rings and he calls us. And that's
what's influence? It's all influence. And, the connectivity.
Right. And some of this science that we're talking, some of this stuff we're talking about right now is in our Electric Universe Theory podcast. Where we talk about what science could possibly tell us about how these.
Yeah, they got Electric Universe podcast too. Did you hear that?
I wonder what that tomato plant is.
These guys are going to talk Electric Universe to us too.
Thing to the zucchini plant.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the Baxter effect, right? Where he
exactly. Yeah.
He took that plant and he goes, maybe I should just burn this plant.
Chop your.
And all of a sudden the plant's like, he's like, I just thought about burning that plant and it responded.
Sure.
So this stuff exists. This idea, this greater civilization, and we're not talking about a very long period of time. Sure, they could have been. If you look at the Egyptian king list, and this is what people freak out, like, oh, it can't be true. Oh, it can't be true. It just goes back too far. It goes back 20,000 years or however long. It's like, well, I mean, sure, it could be true. Like, what if there was a pre-alluvial civilization that existed pre-ice age, and what does that mean? Maybe these guys. So imagine Egypt being a colony of Atlantis and Atlantis falling, and Egypt basically having these pyramids built in the time of Atlantis, or some a little after, but definitely the Sphinx. And so then they basically recorded, and this is where Solon went to learn the story, right? It was actually on a pillar made of orculum, whatever it's called, that was unrustable and unweatherable, and there was written the story of the sunken, lost civilization of Atlantis as 600 BC or so. And
can you give that to me? Can you give me a link to that, where this orculum is? I would like to examine it, please. Now, again, as I said just a few minutes ago, we have the evolution of Egyptian technology through the eons. We have that like recorded because it's a fucking desert, and deserts preserve stuff a lot better than other biomes. So we have a pretty good history of Egypt all the way back to the Green Sahara, my dude.
This is what passed on for 200 years to Plato. And so Egypt definitely is, I think, the big tie to this. I think that Egypt,
that's where the pyramids are.
Yeah, I think that's the colony, one of the main colonies.
The superior buildings, just the structures of, Abydos and, all the temples that are, just, they're so superior to everything else in the world.
Yeah, it could only have been built by an advanced civilization.
Superior race,
Yeah, and this is the earliest buildings that we have of Egypt, which is, like Saqqara, a 64-acre site.
Right. Yeah.
Math is perfect, it's unbelievable. So yeah, I think it's amazing to think about the implications. How far back does it go? What are the Atlanteans? What civilization?
The math is perfect. Again, we have unperfect math pyramids, too. And temples and all kinds of proto-structures, proto-Egyptian architecture, showing how this stuff was innovated and how sometimes it failed. Yeah, they had architectural fails too.
Was old to the Atlanteans.
Right, yeah, who was before them? Right? That's what I'm saying.
Their ancient history. What was their ancient history? Like,
what did they lose? What amnesia did they have?
Right. Because remember, if we're talking 20, 30,000 years, we just talked about man having this mental capability known, at least in anthropological records today, which is always a changing field. These stuff isn't locked.
Mm-hmm.
This is an open thing. But we're talking 200,000-300,000 years, right? At least, or even longer for modern man. So, we're talking 20, 30,000 years, like 10%. So what was the 90% behind them? Was there other civilizations that were even more advanced than them? We hear these other civilizations like, Mu and Mu.
Well, a lot of people want to replace it with aliens. And, they want to speculate, and
it's
really hard to speculate back that far.
So are these guys claiming that Mu is older than Atlantis? I guess that would like the mythology of Mu is older for sure. Lemuria.
Anything more than what would have been a natural people that lived on the planet, and we were either hunters or farmers in some way. You really can't picture them having cars and things like that. You just want to picture them being so in harmony with nature. Living outside. It's just that's what we want to picture, like a utopian society. But for all we know, it was brutal. They had instead of nuclear bombs, they had something even worse. The Brahma weapon. I mean, it goes so far back that it's
the Brahma weapon.
Imagine, and you can't look at the results we have today and take anything away from that because 12,000 years ago we emerged from that. Then after that, here we are. But before that, we don't know. It just got buried, man. It's just like buried. Look at the Grand Canyon.
So I think the idea here is to claim that we are the Atlantean theory is that we're living in the post-apocalyptic world, right? Like there was a big war and Atlantis fell, and all apocalypse and everything. The oldest structures, if you ignore India, in Central Africa. Yeah, exactly. There's before the Sahara really spread out, there was a lot of civilization in northwest Africa too. Like we just looked at, there was a lot of innovation going on there.
You know, I mean, something that causes that to happen, you don't think that it could, you know, bury entire, you know, states and cities and millions of people and all their technology in like one night, you know, just a wave of mud, just burying it under like 1,000 feet of mud.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
you
just,
know,
get an ant bed and look at it, and then realize that there's tens of thousands of ant colonies with an entire society inside it.
Yeah.
You got to get a bucket of water that you got out of your yard, and you go and you say bye, and you literally wipe that thing off of your driveway, whatever it is, and they're gone. And
you throw some grits in for good measure, so that, you know, they take the grits down to the point and she blows up.
But you know what? But ants, much like people, what do? They rebuild.
Yeah, they run away and they rebuild. They find a new spot.
There's another little mound that looks just like the other mound.
Yep, exactly.
You know, and they do the exact same thing somewhere else, and that's what we.
Where do they get that? Where do they get that knowledge to do that? You know.
Right. And
From their,
because one of them does it, all the other ones follow. You know.
Well, that's exactly the key. Is like who taught them that?
And nobody taught them that. It's genetic. They're eusocial. Yeah, the majority are not even passing on genes. They're an extension of the gene passer, which is the queen, and they carry on that bloodline or hemolymph line, I guess. But no, they can. The random ants don't just scatter and rebuild a new civilization somewhere else. If they have a queen, they can set up someplace new. But you know, if it's just a bunch of ants, no, they really aren't going to be able to do anything constructive.
Who's the leader of that? How did that all get? Because, you know, if we know that we've been around for 300,000 years or longer, our modern brain, you know, why haven't we done that at the beginning? If it's a genetic thing, if it's something that was just in our code to do, well, then we would have seen societies 300,000 years ago. We've seen buildings built, and so that's just not how it works. It's not just like this natural state of evolution. Oh, well, we just figure things out. Well,
no one's found any written records, you know, and you would think through all of the research done, there would be something. You know, there would be an amazing tablet that was found, you know, that had something no one's ever seen on it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've been writing on cave walls a lot longer than we've been writing on tablets, my dude, and we do have a pretty good record of our development and innovation in Africa via cave paintings again, and in all over Africa, but southeastern Africa where we started, and then up into sub-Saharan Africa when we really started to get into like the hunter-gatherer scene, started to document our hunts. It's all preserved there. Yeah, not everybody pushes cuneiform into clay tablets. Exactly.
And it was dated at blah, 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 you know, 45,000 BC, you know. I mean, that's the thing. There's just nothing. You know, the only thing we really see is the megaliths, and they're questionable as to how old they are. You know, we don't even know how they built them really with what they had. So
yeah,
there's
we have the myths, you know,
there's no answers, there's myths, right?
You don't know how because you don't understand how people could do that, but I've seen plenty of evidence that people can put up a megalith. Like I've seen like videos of this one guy who put up like a Stonehenge by himself with ancient tools and techniques by himself.
And people go, well, why are they being so, you know, creative about it? Well, first off, that's how they thought. You know, they always put things.
All they had to do was make art.
Yeah, but even at, let's say at, you know, 3000 BC. I mean, we're talking, you know, 10,000 years, you know, prior. So at that point, it's a pretty big myth and story. It's not going to be like John built this over here. I mean, you know, we've only been around for 100 years.
Here's a circle of stones that's 40,000 years old.
Yeah.
Go ahead and try to figure out what it is. That's Adam's calendar. You know, 200,000 years old. You know, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
You don't know.
So we all have to keep an open mind to this stuff. And this is actually
absolutely.
And we know the technology that they use to build Stonehenge and to build the pyramids and things like that to get the stones to their locations. We have ideas on their innovation and techniques. People weren't, and you would acknowledge it earlier that they're running on the same software we are. They just are running on the same hardware that we are. They just don't have the same software available, but they're running on software that does tell them that, hey, if I lay a bunch of logs in a row, I can roll a giant heavy stone over top of it and move it from A to B. And if I keep moving the logs from the back to the front, I can cover quite a distance that way in a short amount of time with less work.
If there's any one topic that basically is the red dot on the dartboard of what ancient amnesia means, it would be Atlantis, because that's our most recent ancient amnesia. we know more about dinosaurs that existed 30, 40, or 60, 70, 80 million years ago than we do about our civilization and kind of where it started and how how language got dispersed and how these buildings were built and where all this began. Like that's what's fascinating to me is that we can go way further back in time and we have all this data and we can kind of study things and flesh things out. But we know less about 15,000 years ago than we do 100 million years ago.
Well, how are we gonna pass on the question to everyone? What are we thinking? Like read the Critias by Plato?
Yeah.
Atlantis.
Ooh, and Sumami, that's a good point. Like, I think a lot of cultures probably kept like a patchwork history, where each generation would teach the next generation to weave or to craft a textile historiography, and if something did happen to that culture, or they stopped doing that in that textile corroded, it'd be lost forever.
Diluvian World by Ignatius Donnelly. Everything by Manly Hall that relates to Atlantis.
Manly Hall is an amazing Atlantis lecture. It's about, I want to say 4 to 6 hours long. He breaks it down. What he does is he goes to America. He basically is compiling evidence for each major area of the world. So it's like for him, that's a good start if you just want to get a good brief over, because this guy probably knew more. He definitely knew more about it than Ignatius Donnelly. Knew more about it than probably anybody that's in the relative modern area. And then you can start going to like Ignatius Donnelly. Then you can start going to just the books itself, like the myths that are out there. There's a lot of Mayan material. Just read about Mayan myth, like what they believe, how their civilization started, and you're going to start seeing how all this stuff ties together. What about what does it mean if the Greek gods were kings of Atlantis? What does it mean if the Egyptian gods were there? The king's list was put all that perspective into your research, and then when you start to read it, you kind of see how this isn't just
if you have preconceived ideas about who these people were, then you can make a fun narrative. Hollywood and fiction writers have been doing it for centuries with Atlantis and every other lost civilization. However, that doesn't make them real. Right? It doesn't make that the real history, because you can fabricate a story based around the idea that Atlanteans influenced European culture. Doesn't actually make it so. Just mediocre white dudes needing to feel special. That's the whole Atlantis movement is. Alright, I think I've probably had enough about this. They got about 8 more minutes to go, but I do want to get this show wrapped up here a little bit earlier today, because I have, again, a funeral to get ready for. So I'm going to end this here, and I'm going to ask you guys, what do you guys think? Atlantis, was it real? No? Yes? Let me know in the comments below. Do you believe this current conspiracy, or do you think that the archaeological evidence speaks for itself and we don't need a secret, powerful, ancient society to be responsible for the empires that rose up in the early Holocene? Let me know down below. Let me know how you broke this open. Let me know what you think. Really appreciate you. Please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time. Alright, so don't go anywhere. We do have Breeze Bestiary coming up right around the corner here. Now, it will probably be shorter, but I also want to do a shout out. And I lost my other shoes, what I was digging around under here for. And then there was a drink carrier I got with my coffee, and I kicked it, and my shoe went flying. It was a mess. So thank you. Now, I'm going to bring y'all over to Breeze Bestiary, and we're going to talk about some flying squirrels. So you don't want to miss that. Squirrels are adorable. You guys know how much I love squirrels. I will see you guys over there.
Hello and welcome. Godless Granny is about a lot of things. I talk about any issue that affects me or on which I have strong opinions. Most frequently, that's religious issues, women's issues, transgender issues, and political issues. I believe in social justice and equality for all. I feel that everyone has a right to believe what they want, but that right doesn't absolve you of criticism of your beliefs. Thus, I criticize both outlying religious ideas and mainstream ideology. I welcome theists to discuss or debate their issues with me live on stream. Contact me on Twitter if you'd like to do that. I was a Christian for 42 years. In my last decade as a believer, I became increasingly liberal, seeing that as being more consistent with biblical ideas. But eventually, the cognitive dissonance between liberal thought and certain parts of the Bible brought me to evolve my theology. I still hung on to the inerrancy of the Bible and continued to look for ways to interpret the Bible to fit reality. But when it was proven to me that the biblical flood did not happen, thank you Aaron Ra, Vice Rhino, and Pelagia, there was no longer anywhere to go. I had to let go of inerrancy. But without the Bible, my faith had no foundation, and then I left the faith. I have since met people of faith who reject inerrancy. I find this a more honest faith, but I also find it a purely human construct. Why believe in a God if you have to make up the God and what the God is all about? I now criticize the very religious beliefs that I held for decades, as I now realize that they not only do not originate from a God that loves me, but that they were dangerous in that they limited me. They limited me as a person by discouraging thought and learning. It restricted my relationships and my ability to develop myself as a person. I hope to do several things here. I hope to reach others of my generation, as we are the primary people that are still holding on to this outdated ideology. Second, I hope to reach the younger generation, imploring them not to follow in my footsteps. And third, I hope to show how the younger generation who has already left the faith can reach their parents. What arguments did I find convincing that will likely convince their parents? So come on in, let's have a chat.
Hello, welcome to Breeze Bestiary. It's happening now. We are in the season of the squirrel. So, if you're part of the Transpositions Discord or the Hive Discord, you may have seen that I lost one of my squirrel friends this week. As I was working, I looked out the window and saw my little squirrel friend laying in the road. I was super sad because, yeah, I leave them nuts and stuff. Sometimes they steal my DoorDash, but we're still friends, right? I'm not as good of friends with the squirrels as I am with the bat that lives in the wall over here, but we're pretty good friends. Well, we get along. Now, my little road's not... There's no reason to be going over maybe 18 miles an hour going down this road. It's a residential area, lots of kids, lots of young people, lots of people parked on the side of the road. Because this is the college is right down the road, so there's a lot of young people that live here, right? There's no reason to hit my squirrel. He was just doing squirrel stuff, and he didn't need to. He's one of the babies, though. Well, he's not a baby anymore. A baby. He was a new guy this year, and I watched his mom and dad chase each other around the tree out there all spring. Yeah, but. Yeah, no more Cheez-Its. I'm here for it. But flying squirrels are some of my favorites. I usually think of them tiny, but there's some big flying squirrels. Let's look at this. Let's look at some flying squirrel stuff here real quick. I got a couple of videos I'm going to watch. They're pretty short, though.
This is a flying squirrel from our collection. Compared to other flying squirrels, this one's a little small. But it makes me wonder, what's our largest flying squirrel? Well, here's a Temminck's flying squirrel from Thailand. The red-cheeked flying squirrel is a little bit longer.
Don't they look so regal? Like, I like how they have that little bone that sticks off there, lets their flap go out. It's adorable.
A common flying squirrel from the United States is this guy, the northern flying squirrel. It's a little chunkier. The Siberian flying squirrel has silvery hair, and our next one is so big, we have to adjust things a bit. This is a smoky flying squirrel.
Huge.
It's large, but not our biggest. Check this out though. The wings are nice and distinct. And if I flip it over, do you see the skin that connects their front and hind legs? Flying squirrels use this skin like a sail to help them glide or fly from tree to tree.
I wish I
it's
had
called
one.
a patagium. And this made me...
Will you all get me a patagium for Christmas? So that I can glide through the trees? Please?
wonder, do any other animals fly using patagia? I thought it was just squirrels, but I was wrong. This is a jar of flying frogs. How do they fly? If I carefully pull one out, take a close look at its hand. It's very large and webbed.
Patagium!
If you look closely, their feet are like this too.
Patagium.
These frogs use
Now I want patagiums from my wrists to my ankles, not on my hands. I don't need no webbed feet and fingers that are, because I'd have to have giant. Could you imagine how big my feet and fingers would have to be to make me glide? Like, it would just make the rest of my living awkward. I'd have these big giant webbed fingers. So no, I would need a patagium from my wrist. It can go from, this bone can grow out like a spur kind of, and then maybe have some muscle control in here somehow. But maybe if it grows out like at an angle. Anyway, and then from my ankle, the same thing. That's how we're going to do it.
On their hands and feet to glide through the air. And that's not all. Here's a jar of Draco lizards. Take a close look at this lizard's side. Their ribs have extended to form a patagium on their hips. Flying fish can glide too, but they use their fins. And I was surprised to find that octopus don't fly at all.
But there are squids that do. Did we not look into that?
Back to our largest flying squirrel. Just need to do a few more adjustments to make room for our next specimen. This is an Indian giant flying squirrel. I thought this must be our largest flying squirrel. But again, I was wrong. Our next specimen is so large it can't be stored with its arms open. Take a look at this. A red giant flying squirrel. This is our largest flying squirrel. Specimen use made possible by the University of Michigan Museum of Zoology.
And that, my friends, is who we're looking at in this next video. So I found this channel, brand new channel, just out this month. Only has 109 subscribers. Great videos though. I liked all these videos. They're funny, but they're actually educational. And a lot of the funny but educational videos make a lot of mistakes. These ones do not. So, I did let the person know. I was going to give a shout out to them this morning. And we're going to watch part of their video. Not the whole thing, because I want you all to go over and watch it. But it's Jay the Researcher. Alright, so there's sketches here at the beginning, which I like. You all know I like sketches, right? But then we get into talking about our giant squirrel.
Aborufus, which directly translates to red and white rope dancer. The oldest confirmed flying squirrel in the fossil record is Neopeuterista neogrivenensis, who lived in Spain 11.6 million years ago during the Neogene period. These squirrels were also huge, measuring 1 meter or 3 feet long from head to tail. The paleontologists that discovered them actually thought it was the remains of a primate due to how robust the bones were. Surprisingly, or perhaps not surprisingly, the closest relatives to this animal all belong in the genus Peuterista. After combining paleontological and molecular data, they found that flying squirrels could have been evolving from tree squirrels as far back as 36 million years ago. Flying squirrels since have spread across the world with a total of 52 species.
I gotta give it to you on the flute jam, my dude. Yes, Jay, the researcher, I love flutes, so keep that up. But yeah.
3 species residing in North America, 2 in northern Eurasia, and all the others being found in the forests of India and other parts of Asia. Flying squirrels come in all sizes, from the adorable Borneo dwarf flying squirrel to the giant woolly flying squirrel. Flying squirrels have specialized wrist bones and cartilage that protrudes out to aid in gliding. Lots of species of flying squirrel are mysterious, and almost all the species in the Pedorista genus are no exception. If you look up a specific species within this genus, for an example Pedorista xanthotis, and go to images, you will find that these animals often get confused with other species in this genus. I mean, just look at how there's almost no information on this animal, let alone a picture. Anyways, they aren't the focus of this.
It's kind of sad though.
Video. The focus is Pedorista alborufus, the red and white giant flying squirrel. You may have seen this animal on this viral video on Instagram.
This is what I wanted to show you guys.
This was taken at the Kung Fu Mecca in the Wudong Mountains of China.
I'm gonna melt. I'm gonna melt. God, I can't take it. It's too cute.
These squirrels, much like other flying squirrels, have a membrane of skin between their front and hind limbs called the patagium. Before launching itself off a tree,
and we just learned about the patagium, so I think there's another video here of him flying. I just don't want to watch all his content. I want to give you guys something to watch, to go over there and watch. So, I'm just about to
steer in the air. Just before landing on the tree of their desire, they lift up and slow down their acceleration. They then use their padded feet as shock absorbers, and then use their sharp claws to grip the tree's bark. They have also been recorded to glide up to distances of 400 meters, or 1,300 feet. China and Taiwan. The subspecies that are on mainland China are as follows: Alborufus alborufus, Alborufus castinus, Alborufus leucocephalus, and Alborufus acrospis. Firstly is Alborufus alborufus. This subspecies inhabits the Gansu, Shaanxi, and West Sichuan provinces of China. Their coat is a deep dark red with a large blonde red patch. They are located within the Chongqing, Guizhou, Hubei, Hunan, Eastern Sichuan, Shaanxi, and Yunnan provinces of China. Thirdly is Alborufus leucocephalus, who lives in the Zhejiang province in China, but have had unconfirmed reportings in Myanmar and Bhutan. Then we have Alborufus acrospis, which is located in the Guangxi and Yunnan provinces of China. Tulana belonging as a standalone species, but this change hasn't been officially accepted yet. The Formosan white-headed squirrel is on average smaller than their mainland China counterpart, with an adult's body length averaging 35 to 43 centimeters, and a
so cute. His little white face. This is the one that's from Taiwan, right? Oh my god, it's so cute. I can't stand it. Ugh.
Tail length of 44 to 48 centimeters. Unfortunately, due to the lack of research done on the Pedorista genus, there is a lot of taxonomic confusion. For an example, the giant red flying squirrel, Pedorista, much like Pedorista alborufus, has subspecies, one of which is Candidula, which live in northern Taiwan and Myanmar. There aren't many pictures of this animal on the internet, but as time goes on and more research is done, scientists believe that Candidula may be closer related to the red and white giant flying squirrel, and may possibly be considered a separate species in the future. The red and white giant flying squirrel will typically go and harvest their food at night, eating predominantly nuts and seeds. They'll also eat tender leaves, shoots, and even insects in their larvae.
She's just like me. She's just like me. Look at her.
Alborufus living high in trees and already high elevations, and the fact that they rarely ever touch the ground, they have very few predators and usually only worry about birds of prey. Because they're crepuscular, they usually avoid eagles and hawks, but owls still pose a threat. Not much is known about their breeding, but we know that they average 2 young a year. and that they like to make their nests in tree
That's more young than I average a year, I'll tell you that right now.
hollows or even limestone caves.
It gets weird here. Okay, I know that there's some kind of like Zoomer comedy I'm not able to understand there, that part, but there's more videos of the squirrels flying that I wanted to show you. I thought, anyway. I thought I had more. Hold on. Let me check. See what I did with them. I had to do a restart this morning. Annoying. But I had to do it. So, now I'm going to go back into the history and see if I can't find my videos about flying squirrels that I had picked out for you because I love you guys and want you to see how cute they are too. I think I got closed when I was looking at different ancient... so I decided on the flying squirrels before I decided on Atlantis. So I had that stuff up first. Okay, there's that one. Is that the one you just watched there? They're both from the Natural History Museum. Come on, where are you? They're so cute. I can't not show you. I want a dog. It's adorable. Look at that face. Look at that face. You see this little patagium all wrapped up and bundled there under its armpit. It's adorable. Ah! Stop being so cute. Oh. That was the giant red flying squirrel. I have another one here though. Oh, that's the same one we just watched. Hold on. There's more squirrels, I promise. I have so much squirrels. And I got sidetracked, right? By watching videos about Haitian people eating cats, apparently, but I'm looking at my history and seeing where I went. What went wrong with my flying squirrels video? Where I went down a rabbit hole. That's what I did. I dove into the freaking news. It grabs my attention. Now, here's one. Whoosh. Whoosh! Amazing. You're amazing. Watch. Alright. Y'all done watching me spaz about squirrels? Remember I talked about prairie dogs a couple weeks ago? Well, I do see a visit to Prairie Dog Town in Lubbock, Texas in my future. I see a visit, I don't want to say too much just yet, but I do see a trip to El Paso and a stay in El Paso in my near future. And hopefully I will get some content out of living out there too. So we'll see what the future holds. Really excited about new adventures. How about you? This has been Bree's Bestiary though, and I love squirrels. Do you like squirrels? Let's love squirrels together. Please remember to be kind, take care, And we will see you next time. All right. My hive. I wanted to show you all something else too before I leave for the day. This is really cool. And I just found it. So I wanted to share it. So we're going to pop over there to... Here we go. Check this phylogenetic tree. Okay, you got all life. You follow archaea, eukaryote. And you keep following it down. There's archaea, splits off. Keep going on down. Different eukaryotes splitting off along the way, going down towards plants. But we can follow it on further. You get amoebas and funguses, and look, here's mushrooms and fungi, animals, and more. We keep going on down. We're getting to holozoans, which is us. So we can follow that on down. Animals and more animals. Check it out, and you get down into here. Each of these branches goes on to its own spiral. You got comb jellies, other jellyfish and corals. You got flatworms. Oh, now we're getting into chordates. That's where you'll find a bumblebee, which is weird because you think you'd find a bumblebee down in here. But since it's just a name, you actually find it up here in the chordates. I'm closer related to a sea urchin than I am to a bumblebee. But moving forward, let's look. Let's look at animals here. And let's look at deuterostomes. Because deuterostomes means we start off with the one hole. Let's see here, and we get tunicates, which I know Dapper Dino just loves. We got jawless fish. We got lampreys and hagfish. You get jawed vertebrates, and then we have cartilaginous fish. So you're going to find your sharks and rays and skates and chimeras up in here. And bony vertebrates. You got your ray-finned fish down here. Going to be a lot of spirals spinning off of that, but we got some lobe-fin fish too, like our coelacanth here. And then you get into tetrapods and lungfish. Tetrapods. What do tetrapods split? You got amphibians coming off of here. And then the ammonites. Now, we can go down two ways here. You got mammals and sauropsids. Now, sauropsids is going to have reptiles and birds and snakes and everything in between, whereas this is going to be the path that's going to lead you to me. So let's see where that goes. So there on the mammal path, you have you got monotremes, and then you have marsupials and the therian mammals, along with placentals like you and I. The first branch that pops off of there is the Atlantogenata, which has our South American xenotharans, which is sloths, anteaters, and armadillos. And then the amazing Afrotheres branch off up there, which you got dugongs and sea cows and manatees, aardvarks, elephant shrews, golden moles, tenrecs, and of course you have pachyderms. Elephants branching off right here. Hyrax. But moving back to this line, because we are actually we actually belong to this group, Boreoeutheria, but we're not up here with these other Boreoeutherians, like the insectivores, and we have the two different clades of ungulates here. You got the even-toed, cloven-hooved, which is, cattle and pigs and whales and camels and all that good stuff. Deer and sheep. And then you get your odd-toed ungulates, which branch off this little thing here. And you got horses, rhinos, and tapirs. But this group is really weird because it goes down into this path where you get pangolins, and then we get to carnivora, which is all, the cat-like carnivores, dog-like carnivores, etc. But we're not down that path either. No sirree, Bob. We are continuing down this path. Continuing down Oh, where did I lose my spot? Where am I? We're continuing down this path. Yeah, the Boreotherian, where we have rodents, primates, and more. And I guess humans are the more, but we're primates. We got tree shrews, colugos, got lemurs, tarsiers, you got New World monkeys, you got apes. Here we are. Here's where you're going to find Brie at. So we got apes, and it splits off into great apes right here, African apes, and Brie is in this group right here. Now, Homo sapien. And each one of these you can click on and see what the clade looks like what's included in it. So that's pretty cool. I really like this. And you can go down any line you want. Like we were just talking about squirrels, right? Yeah, we can go on down to squirrels, right? And we can go, like, did you know that mountain beavers were squirrels? Did you know that? Now you do. But we can continue down. You got ground squirrels. You got giant squirrels. You got flying squirrels are going to come way down here at this end right here. But this is the groups that we were just looking at. Look, there we are. Our giant red flying squirrels. So, pretty cool tool. And let's see if we can do one more. I'm going to do, since we talked about tarantulas earlier, we're going to go down the tarantula path. I just want to show you guys how user-friendly this thing is. Okay, so to get to tarantulas, we know that they're not chordates. We know they're not deuterostomes. We know they're not nephrozoa. We know that. Oh, no, they are nephrozoa. Okay. But they're not, they're protostomes. See, deuterostome, protostome. But we followed the protostome down to the arthropods, right? And look, we can follow arthropods, crustaceans, insects, and more. And we got arachnids branching off here, spiders. And as we continue down this path, scorpions branch off. We get some different groups, but we see mygalomorph pops up. So, mygalomorph includes tarantulas, but also mouse spiders, and several species of funnel and trapdoor spiders. But moving on down, we get into what was truly tarantulas, starting with the first branches, the stout-legged baboon tarantula. But we get a lot cooler as we move on down and get into some amazing different branches. So you can find your New World tarantula. There's my aviculera, chasing it all the way down the hole. Where'd you go? Aviculera, aviculera. That's not aviculera. That's Dolichopheles. Where is aviculera? But you can search this too. I guess I could show you that feature. Avicularia. Yep, I was on the wrong leg. Here we go. Here's Avicularia. The pink toe tarantulas. Crazy cute. Fuzzy little friends. Yeah, but that just goes you how deep it is and how complex it is. This is probably the best web of life tool that I've ever seen online. And I'm freaking thrilled to know that it's here. And it covers everything. So, yeah. Thank you for sticking with me, though. It's been a fun show. Like I mentioned earlier, I got a funeral to go to. I know you're in El Paso. I should say something. I should message you about it. It's going to be fun. Yeah. But thank you guys so much for sticking it out with me. This has been a a great show. I do have a funeral to get ready for, so I'm not going to hang out too much longer. But please remember to be kind, take care, and we'll see you next time. Yeah. I'll take you squatching in my area. Yay, I'm going to go squatching with Nikki. That sounds amazing. All right, seriously, peeps. I will be probably back later this evening, and we'll see what happens there. I should probably change my clothes. I'm dressed a little too bright for the occasion. All right. Yeah, like I always say, be kind, take care. We'll see you next time.
With all the noise, pseudoscience, and political rhetoric clogging the airwaves about transgender people, it can be difficult to understand what's really happening and what's really true. Good news, everyone! Welcome to the Transpositions, your compass in the rugged landscape of transgender issues. With all the noise, pseudoscience, and political rhetoric clogging the airwaves about transgender people, it can be difficult to understand what transgender community. From breaking news to in-depth features to breaking down the real science, we are committed to fostering understanding, empathy, and empowerment for all individuals across the gender spectrum. Join us as we navigate the complexities, celebrate the triumphs, and advocate for the rights of transgender people worldwide. Together, we can redefine boundaries, challenge stereotypes, and champion inclusivity. Subscribe today. The link is in the description.